Thank you for joining us. I am Felicity Ezewike. We begin today in Nigeria's capital, where President Bola Tinubu has approved 70,000 naira as the new minimum wage for Nigerian workers, with a promise to review the wage every 3 years. President Tinubu also promised to find ways to assist the private sector and state governments to pay their wages. This was at a meeting with leaders of the organized labor unions comprising Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress at the State House in the nation's capital, Abuja. Nigeria's Minister of Information made this known to State House correspondents in Abuja.
We're happy to announce today that both the federal government and the organized labor have agreed on an increase on the 62,000 naira minimum wage. The new national minimum wage that we expect Mr. President to submit to the National Assembly for legislation is 70,000 naira. But that is not all. There is also a boost, like Mr. President has assured, in ensuring that massive investment is going to be made in the area of infrastructure. There is also a deepening of the investment of the federal government in renewable energy. More money is going to go into the acquisition of more buses, the CNG buses. Nigeria is going to be more CNG compliant, according to the president. We are moving in this transition to renewable. And all other things that Mr. President has assured labor, the issue of SANU and NASU is also going to be looked at. And we are happy, we are very thankful of the role that the organized labor has done today.
Mr. President assured all Nigerians that he's their president and would not disappoint, and he has shown that this afternoon. Recall that Labour saw Mr. President last week, and they asked that you should give them 1 week to consult more. And of course, at the end of the day, the consultation came very fruitful because Mr. President said he has to be a father, that it's not issue of law who is right or who will blink the first, that he is our father, like he always said.
The good thing about it is that we will not wait for another 5 years to come and review. Rather than accepting on a figure that you wait for 5 years, it's like you have to now negotiate even 2 times within 5 years with a view to going up. That is one of the reasons, why we decided to reach where we are today, because of the proviso that.
From some perspective, we're joined by Labour lawyer Ireoluwa Oguntuase. Ireoluwa, thank you very much for joining us. There's been a lot of talk about this new minimum wage. Now we have a figure. Is it below or within the range you thought they would conclude with?
Okay, thank you for having me. On a lighter note, I'll first say happy review of minimum wage, if there is any of such great thing. But again, I would say that for me personally, it's actually below what I expected. I had said it several times before that I expected that the minimum wage, the review of it in line with the Minimum Wage Act is going to be like within the range of 100,000. I didn't expect that it was going to be 70,000, but be that as it may, I think is a very good place for us to stop now, and Labour can always pick up the conversation later, with the federal government. But that's below my expectation, to say the truth.
Let's also ask, were you expecting that Labour, with all the noise that they have made, that they would accept 70,000? Remember, they were saying each time you talk about it and have conversation with the Labour leaders, they tell you, look at the prices of goods in the market and weigh what an average family of 6 will use to survive. So did you honestly believe the labor unions will accept this figure, or maybe speculations are they were constrained?
Well, I didn't believe they're going to accept this figure. But again, if we look at it, if we look at the process of negotiation, it's usually a win-win situation. No party can take all. Now, if we consider the angle from which Labour is looking at it, they had already said that the reason they had to concede to that 70,000 is because of the proposal, is because of the addition, of what the federal government says as to the fact that the review will now be coming, every 3 years and not every 5 years. Now, we need to agree that Section 3, subsection 4 of the Minimum Wage Act had said that, had stipulated that the review will be coming every 5 years. And I had also stated it before as a proposal that the review should be in every 2 years or every 3 years, given the galloping and hyperinflation that we're experiencing in Nigeria. But even be that as it may, I would have still thought that Labour should have tried as much as possible, to push it higher. But, like I said before, it's a very good place to drop the review now, and they would also pick it up, every 3 years. What I'm just thinking is that in addition to Section 3, subsection 4, that will now be amended, I was also thinking that Section 4 of the Minimum Wage Act will be amended. What does Section 4 says? Section 4 also tried to limit the categories of employees, that will be paid minimum wage. And it actually says that employees that are paid on commission or piecemeal basis, or where the staff strength of employees in an organization is less than 25, then the employers will not be under an obligation to pay minimum wage. I would have thought that this particular provision would also be amended, given the fact that it actually runs contrary to me, against Chapter 4, Section 42 of the 1999 Convention as amended, that talks about discrimination, and also international conventions like Convention 111 that talks about discrimination, and also Convention 100 that talks about equal remuneration. I'm talking of Convention 100 of 1951 and Convention 111 of 1958. So I think Section 4 also runs contrary of the Minimum Wage Act, runs contrary to these legislations. And on that premise, I would have thought that this section should also be looked into with the purpose of amending it. But again, we can always pick it up after 3 years.
Okay, it's been described as a good thing by the Nigerian Labour Congress president. Is it really a good thing, considering the fact that in the next 3 years we might have a change in administration? What is the possibility that this 3 years review of 3-year review of the minimum wage will be a constant that people can rely on? It doesn't matter who is in power.
Well, I believe that the national minimum wage, as it is now, the Minimum Wage Act as it is now, will be amended to reflect 70,000 as contained, that is actually in line with Section 3, subsection 3 of the Minimum Wage Act that had stated that the minimum wage will be 30,000. So with the proposal, with the proposal that is being submitted by the President to the National Assembly now, I believe that that particular provision will be amended. And in addition to the proposal made by the federal government as to the review of the timeline from 5 years to 3 years, that is contained in Section 3, subsection 4 of the National Minimum Wage Act 2019. In the wake of this amendment now, I believe that that particular section should also be amended from 5 years to 3 years. So upon that amendment, it doesn't matter whoever is there, the law will supersede. If the legislation has been amended, then whosoever is there would have to comply with the provisions of the National Minimum Wage Act. And that's actually the beauty of rule of law and democracy.
All right, thank you very much for speaking with us. We appreciate the insights you've provided.
Yes, thank you for having me. Yeah, bye-bye.
All right, let's go quickly to Benin, the capital of Edo State, where we understand that what would have been an entirely joyous event turned bloody. 2 persons were reported to have been shot dead during the reception for the Deputy Governor of the state, Philip Shaibu, who was earlier this week reinstated by the court. Large crowds of supporters had gathered at the Benin airport to receive Shaibu and the APC governorship candidate. Reports say the gathering were attacked by armed thugs who fired gunshots, leading to the death of police personnel and another supporter of the deputy governor. A valuable video shows the crowd processing on the streets with a lifeless body in the open van. Edo State will be voting in a very heated governorship election on the 21st of November after the deputy governor had failed to emerge as a candidate. Police say investigations have commenced into the circumstances surrounding the shooting and killing on Thursday. To discuss this, we're joined by the Special Advisor on Media to the Edo State Governor, Crusoe Osagie. Crusoe, it's good to see you again. We spoke yesterday after the court ruling, and now we have this unfortunate development. Can you confirm for us the details of the shooting incident at the Benin airport and the number of casualties? Are the media reports accurate?
First, let me correct your assertion that Philip Shaibu is Deputy Governor of Edo State. That is wrong. Philip Shaibu got a judgment saying that his impeachment was invalid. That judgment has now been appealed, and then we have a stay of execution.
That the judgment has been appealed, it has not been overturned yet. It doesn't make it invalid, does it?
Until all the appellate courts have given their judgments, he cannot be referred to as the deputy governor. So this matter can be appealed all the way to the Supreme Court. Until that happens, you cannot refer to him as deputy governor. So that's wrong journalism. That means you're essentially saying that there are two deputy governors in Edo State at the same time, which is wrong. The deputy governor of Edo State, as of today, is Omobayo Godwin's Marvelous. Until Shaibu exhausts his matter up to the Supreme Court, and if the Supreme Court affirms him as deputy governor, then you can.
I would refrain from engaging because I don't know the legalities of that matter. Maybe when we speak to a lawyer, there will be clarification. But I'd like you to speak on today's development at the airport. I asked if you could confirm the number of casualties as is being reported.
It is important to clear a wrong message that you are passing through your medium to the public. That's why I have to say that. There is one deputy governor in Edo State, is in the person of Marvelous or Mobile Godwin.
I think you've made your point, sir.
If you continue to refer to Philip Shaibu as deputy governor, you are aiding the crisis that Philip Shaibu stirred in Benin today, because he rode into town as the deputy governor, which is not. Even after the police commissioner had gone to him at the airport and served him with the notice the police commissioner himself had received from the courts, saying that his judgment has been stayed and that the matter has been appealed, and appealing to him not to ride into town with his thugs that were armed with sophisticated weapons. He rebuffed the commissioner of police. He rode into town, guns blazing, with his thugs, and I'm sure in the process of the firing among his thugs, a couple of them got hit. They shut the city down. They were shooting at bystanders, crushing people's vehicles, essentially.
So I'm a bit concerned because when we talk about issues like this, you seem to be focusing on the politics. My question was a bit specific. You've clarified what you perceive as the correct thing to have been said, and I did not argue with you. I'm asking, can you confirm for us that anybody died at the unfortunate event today? And maybe you could give us an update what the government is doing to help address that situation.
The confirmation of deaths in a violent criminal situation is not mine to do. That's the police's responsibility. You get in touch with the police. They can confirm how many dead. In journalism, when you are confirming deaths from a crisis, you get that information from.
Well, you are a member of the government. As a government official, where we do not have a police officer present, you could clarify as a concerned citizen as well as a representative.
I cannot give you that information authoritatively.
Okay, so has calm now returned to the city after this incident?
Yes, they shut up the place. They have also stopped shooting, and then there's calm. And we are calling on the police to arrest Philip Shaibu. He caused the mayhem in Benin. His plan was to violently take the office of the deputy governor by storm, shooting his way through the streets into the government house. And in the process, he caused the mayhem, destroyed vehicles, destroyed people's properties. And from
I guess at this point it would be fair to also say this is your perception of events. I'm sure if you speak to someone else, they will also have another.
Yeah, well, you can bring those people to give their perception.
All right, we appreciate.
I'm telling you what I saw. Yeah.
We appreciate your thoughts
on the streets today. Yes.
All right, we appreciate your thoughts. We'll just have to leave it there because we're time constrained.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking with us. If you have just joined us, you're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. President Tinubu approves 70,000 naira new minimum wage for Nigerian workers. Two feared dead as reinstated Edo Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu returns to Benin. Nigerian mainstream and downstream petroleum regulatory authority says Dangote Refinery operating illegally. 15-day truce extension has been announced in the Democratic Republic of Congo's eastern region. Thank you for staying with us. Let's now tell you that the Dangote Refinery and Petrochemicals Company has not been issued any license by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority to operate in the country, and as such, it is operating illegally. This is according to the Authority Chief Executive Farouk Ahmed. He spoke during an interview in Abuja. Farouk said the allegations raised by Dangote Refinery that its operations are being scuttled owing to a lack of supply of crude oil by international oil companies are untrue.
There are a lot of concerns about supply of petroleum products nationwide and the claims by some media houses that we're trying to scuttle Dangote Refinery. That is not so. Dangote Refinery is still in the pre-commissioning stage. It has not been licensed yet. We haven't licensed them yet. They are still in pre-commissioning. I think they're about 45% completion rather. So we cannot rely heavily on one refinery to feed the nation, because the Dangote is requesting that we should suspend or stop all importation of petroleum products, especially AGO and jet kero, and direct all marketers to the refinery. That is not good for the nation in terms of energy security, and that is not good for markets because of monopoly. So in terms of quality, currently the AGO quality in terms of sulfur is the lowest as far as West African requirement of 50 ppm. Dangote Refinery, as well as some modular refineries, like Walter Smith's Refinery, Ireoluwa Refinery, they're producing between 650 to 1,200 ppm. So in terms of quality, their quality is much, much inferior to the imported quality.
The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has condemned the spate of pipeline vandalism and oil theft in the country. Egbetokun on Thursday appointed Deputy Commissioner of Police Bayonle Suleiman as the new commanding officer in charge of the Inspector General of Police Special Task Force on Petroleum and Illegal Bunkering. In a statement on Thursday by the force spokesperson, Muyiwa Adejobi, the IG stated that the illegal activities of oil thieves had caused not only significant financial losses, but also severe environmental damage. Adejobi said the IG ordered the newly appointed commander to curtail the activities of oil thieves. Now, the General Officer commanding 3 Division and Commander of Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, has restated his commitment to ridding the entire joint operations area in Plateau State of all forms of criminality. Major General Abubakar, represented by the Media Officer of Operation Safe Haven, Major Aliyu Danja, was speaking during a press briefing in Bankin Ladi local government area of Plateau State. News Center's Chizoba Anyowe was there and now reports.
Over the past 2 decades, some local government areas have suffered attacks by unknown gunmen for reasons ranging from cattle rustling, underage grazing, and destruction of farmlands, among others. In the face of these criminal activities, the Nigerian military says it will stop at nothing to ensure an end to all forms of illegalities in the state. It was during the raid that 8 suspects were arrested for various crimes.
Let me therefore seize this opportunity to reiterate that Trade Division and Operation Safe Haven will leave no stone unturned in its quest to mop up illegal arms and ammunition within the joint operation areas in line with its core mandates. We therefore urge the general public to continue to collaborate and avail security agencies with credible information that will aid in securing the law-abiding citizens in the joint operation areas.
With the cache of arms and ammunition recovered in the hideout of the gun runners during the raid by troops of Operation Safe Haven, it is a call to state actors to redouble their efforts to the challenge and threat of both lives and property in society.
Following the incident, troops conducted a follow-on operation in the district to recover illegal arms and ammunition and other dangerous weapons. During the operations that lasted for 1 week, the team arrested 7 suspects and recovered both automatic and locally fabricated weapons, as well as different caliber of ammunition.
Timothy Zaka, also known as Timaya, Sam P, Dachung Job, and Yakubu Ishaku had been declared wanted for illegal possession of arms that led to the operation.
Load! Present! Fire!
That was the last mark of respect for Christopher Agwom. He was the Assistant Superintendent of Immigration attached to Sector 4 of Operation Safe Haven. He paid the supreme price last week during the operation that led to the arrest of these suspects and their arms.
Now, with all these efforts put in place, both human and material resources by the Nigerian military to ensure that there's maximum peace in every community that makes up every state in the country, it is expected that members of the public put in their best also to ensure that there's maximum peace in Plateau State. From Barikin-Ladi local government area of Plateau State, Chizoba Anyonwe, reporting for News Central.
1 week after Abia State government announced its readiness to commence the enforcement of ban on street trading, not much has changed. The State Commissioner for Information and Culture, Oke Kanu, had told journalists in Umuahia that the government was planning to stop all manner of trading along the roads and undesignated areas. News Centre's Chinwe Ugele reports.
Hours after the comments from Commissioner Oke Kanu on street trading ban enforcement, the harmonized task force moved into action, putting up barricades at locations not originally meant for buying and selling.
You can see the road behind me is now quite clear and vehicles can move, other than what it used to be some days ago when traders littered the streets, the roads with their wares.
However, a few days later, the areas marked for ban have been fully occupied once again as trading resumes. The plan to move the traders out of their current locations is not a threat to them, knowing that there will be an option provided by the government.
If you can provide another place for us, it's good. If you can go urban, as far as you can doing business, it's fine.
I know that before Governor lives here, I know he will provide a better place for us to stay before he's closed.
They are unwilling to relocate to the Umuahia main market at Ubani only because of distance, which may not be a good development for the market and occupants.
That Urban, we've been there and it doesn't work for us, to be sincere. People find it difficult to come there to patronize us. So that's why we are asking our governor, because we know he's people's governor, to at least look for a place that will be around the town for us to go in.
Even the state government is heeding to the demands of the traders to remain in the city center when relocated instead of moving to Ubani.
Will they remain at the positions where they are now, or is government making alternative plans to relocate them to another market?
The policy of the government is to create orderliness around that cluster. The government have also made provision for a space where these people will be relocated to, because actually you can't move them away without providing an alternative. And that, because when they don't have alternative, that's when they start hanging around there.
Until the proper relocation of these traders, the Harmonized Task Force has a huge task of controlling likely surge that will cause obstruction from traders and commercial motorists on the road. In Omaha for News Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Building collapse in Nigeria have become a tragic and reoccurring phenomenon, causing significant loss of life and property. Recently, at least 22 people died when a school building collapsed in Jos, the Plateau State capital, leading to an ongoing discussion in the Senate on stiffer penalties for defaulting developers. My colleague, News Central's Bettina Uweli, tells us more.
Nigeria, with its rapidly growing population and urbanization, is witnessing a construction boom. From Lagos to Abuja, new buildings rise to meet the demand for housing and commercial spaces. But behind this rapid development lies a dark reality. Building collapses have become alarmingly frequent. In Lagos alone, multiple buildings have crumbled, burying lives and dreams under the debris. According to the latest report from the Building Collapse Prevention Guild, Nigeria witnessed about 604 building collapses between 1974 and May 30, 2024. The report indicates that Lagos State recorded 57.28% of the total collapse, with over 346 buildings caving in the last 50 years.
I think that what we need to do is to set what the guidelines are, we should set what the codes are, make sure that everybody's in alignment with that, and then use that to begin to assess any building that's being put up, and use that to also audit buildings that already exist, right? Because that's the only way I think that we'll be able to curb all of these collapses.
It is a good penalty, but it's definitely not the only thing that the government should also do. I mean, some of these developers, by the time they put this quackery, if I would use that word, of so-called buildings into our lands for us to actually habitate, right? It will get to the point in our livelihood that those buildings are going to collapse.
On Wednesday, the Senate asked the federal government and all relevant government agencies to urgently put the necessary structures in place to handle construction failures and bring to book all those violating laid-down procedures for construction activities. Adopting a motion by Senator Dickwet Plang and Senator Abdul Ningi, who seconded the motion, the Senate noted with sadness that it was a depressing sight to see healthy and agile children who left home to write their examinations unfortunately return to their parents dead.
What we can do as a national parliament that regulate the various institutions is to see what we can do to tinker with the law such that if you design a building and you are obliged to supervise the construction, should the building collapse within a certain number of years, you are liable not only to withdraw your license, you are liable to prosecution.
The consequences, I imagine, are several, but one would be from a professional association perspective. If it's an architect who's responsible for this, then they should lose their license, for example. Separately, at a government level, there should be some sort of consequences, especially where there's loss of life or damage to property. There needs to be a financial compensation and potentially an offense under the law.
The impact of these collapses is devastating. Families lose their loved ones, their homes, and their livelihoods. By prioritizing safety, enforcing regulations, and investing in quality, Nigeria can build a future where such tragedies are a thing of the past. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Thank you for staying with us. Fighting between warring parties in the volatile east of DR Congo appeared to have calmed on Thursday. This comes after the United States announced a 15-day extension of a humanitarian truce between the M23 rebels and government forces. Residents in the province there had been some shooting near the southern front of the conflict, but no fighting between the M23 and Congolese army. The M23 rebels, backed by Rwanda, launched an offensive in the North Kivu province in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo at the end of 2021, and since then has seized large swathes of territory. Let's go over now to our business desk for today's business stories.
Welcome. In business news, Nigeria's central bank on Thursday sold the dollar at 1,450 naira to retail exchange bureau to prop up the currency, saying that distortions in the retail market was feeding into parallel markets and widening the country's exchange rate premium. The naira hit a new low of 1,640 per dollar on Thursday, the same level it traded at on the parallel market. It touched a 4-month low of 1,612 naira 50 kobo on the official market on Wednesday, LSEG data showed. The African Development Bank has approved a $1 billion loan for South Africa's Transnet to aid the troubled logistics firm's recovery plan, the bank and the company said on Thursday. State-owned Transnet has struggled to provide adequate freight rail and port services in South Africa due to equipment shortages and maintenance backlogs after years of underinvestment. This has impacted commodity exports and other sectors such as manufacturing and retail, weakening Africa's most advanced economy. Transnet and the FDB said in a joint statement that the 25-year loan is fully guaranteed by the government of South Africa. Transnet, which has debt of 130 billion rand, recorded a loss of 1.6 billion rand on the back of declining rail, port and pipeline volumes as well as higher costs. Finally, North Africa. The Suez Canal's annual revenue has dropped by almost a quarter in its latest financial year as some shippers switched to alternative routes to avoid attacks by Iran-aligned Houthis in the Red Sea. Osama Rabi, the head of the Egyptian Canals Authority, said on Thursday revenues fell to $7.2 billion in its 2023 to 2024 financial year from $9.4 billion the year before. Since November, the Houthis have been attacking commercial vessels in the Red Sea and Indian Ocean to show support for Palestinian militant group Hamas in its fight against Israel. The Suez Canal is a key source of foreign currency for Egypt, and authorities have been trying to boost its revenues in recent years. Including via an expansion in 2015. And that's a package on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
And for sports lovers, we have updates for you right after now.
In sport, athletes for the 2024 Olympics say they are excited to be in Paris as they arrive at the Olympic Village 8 days before the opening ceremony. Delegations from Australia, Brazil, the United States, Japan, South Africa and Uruguay are among the first to arrive. The village, located to the north of Paris, will house nearly 14,500 people, including 9,000 athletes at its peak. Meanwhile, thousands of French security forces locked down large parts of central Paris on Thursday ahead of the hugely complex Olympics opening ceremony next week as the capital continues its transformation. The opening parade on July 26th along 6 kilometers of the River Seine led to the closure of central Riverside districts to most vehicles from 5 a.m. on Thursday.
Very excited. It's nice weather to it as well. So looking forward to the next couple of weeks here. Yeah, well, in the hockey pool, both pools are very challenging. So we know we've got 5 games in the pool stages that need us to focus on one game at a time. We start off with the world #1 ranked team, the Netherlands, but we got Germany, we got Spain, and we got Great Britain as well. So there's no easy games.
Nada, la verdad es un orgullo tremendo estar acá, poder venir con la selección de rugby 7, que es la primera vez en la historia que clasifica a unas Olimpiadas. Así que nada, muy contento y con mucha expectativa.
And now to football. Two Nigerian representatives at the ongoing Gotia Cup in Sweden, Beyond Limits Football Academy and Sporting Lagos Academy, will face off for a place in the final. Beyond Limits FA edged out Ghana's Right to Dream FC on penalties after regulation time ended 1-1. Goalkeeper Daniel Ayenugba, son of former Super Eagles goalkeeper Dele Ayenugba, was his team's saviour as his side triumphed 7-6 on penalties. In the other quarter-final match, Sporting Lagos Academy edged Ivorian ASEC Mimosa 4-3 on penalties after playing out a goalless draw. The semi-final match will be a repeat of TCC semi-final a few months ago, in which Beyond Limits emerged victorious via penalties. The Gotia Cup is one of the oldest and largest youth football tournaments in the world. Still talking football, President's Federation Cup champions El Kanemi Warriors have chosen the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja as their home ground for their CAF Confederation Cup campaign. The Warriors arrived at the decision after their home ground, the El Kanemi Stadium, Maiduguri, failed to meet required CAF standards. Aliu Zubairu's side will face Benenoa club Daje FC in the preliminary round. The first leg will be played between August 16th and 18th of August, while the second leg will hold between August 23rd and 25th. The Maiduguri club will confront former champions RS Berkane Morocco in the second preliminary round if they defeat the Benenoa opponent. And to wrap up sports update, ahead of next month's West African Zone B Wafu B Women's Champions League, the regional football governing body has confirmed the 7 teams taking part in the tournament. Host FC Inter de Abidjan will be joined by neighbours Asaka Ladies of Ghana and Ao Etincelle of Burkina Faso. Nigeria champions Edo Queens and neighbours Ainovi FC of Benin Republic and ASGNN of Niger Republic will also feature in the 4th edition of the competition. ASCO from Togo completes the 7 teams for the competition and will determine the zone's representative at the 2024 CAF Women's Champions League. The tournament will take place from August 10th to 24th, 2024 in Côte d'Ivoire. Ghana and Nigeria have produced the previous winners of the tournament. Last year, Ampem Dakwa edged another Nigerian side, Delta Queens, 1-0 in the final match hosted in Benin City, Edo State, capital of Nigeria. That wraps it up on Sports Update. I'm Favour Itwa.
Up next is entertainment.
Tonight on Entertainment News, after a 5-year legal battle, Accra's Commercial Court 7 ruled against the Confederation of African Football, CAF, for infringing on the intellectual property rights of Ghanaian producer and tech enthusiast Spikey, born Kwabena Ofei-Kwade Nkrumah. The court found CAF guilty of using Spikey's musical beat, Okomfo and Nonkie, without permission in promotional materials for the 2018 CAF Awards. Spikey's legal team argued that CAF plagiarized and infringed on his copyright, resulting in significant financial losses due to missed licensing opportunities. Despite CAF's defense that the music was freely available online and used for non-commercial purposes, the court sided with Spikey.
Lawyers sent them letters, and subsequently we ended up in courts because we weren't getting the feedback that we wanted. So my lawyers filed a suit against them here in Accra. And they did reach out in the beginning, hoping to settle, but the initial offer they made wasn't good enough, so we ended up in court, and the court ruled in my favor after a few years of it. The courts did try to get us to settle out of court. You'd have the pre-trial conference and everything, but that didn't go as planned, so we ended up in trial, and after the trial, I was awarded the damages that had been awarded.
Justice Emmanuel Lodo issued an injunction against CAF ordering the removal of all infringement materials and awarded Spikey damages amounting to $250,000 and 40,000 Ghanaian cedis for legal costs. Spikey hailed the decision as a significant victory for producers whose works have been used without proper compensation. A judge dismissed the case against Alec Baldwin after 3 days, citing that the police and prosecutors had withheld potential evidence from the defense. Baldwin, who faced charges over a 2021 fatal shooting on the set of the film Rust, has announced plans to potentially sue state prosecutor Carrie Morrissey and Santa Fe County Sheriff Aden Mendoza. The incident involved Baldwin holding a gun that discharged, killing cinematographer Helena Hodgkins and wounding director Joel Souza. Baldwin's lawyer have asked for the preservation of documents for possible litigation. Additionally, Heina Guterres, the film's armorer, has requested her involuntary manslaughter conviction be dismissed or a new trial ordered, arguing her case was compromised similarly due to withheld evidence. She already has an appeal pending. The case-ending evidence involved unrelated ammunition brought to the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, which Baldwin's lawyers argued was buried by investigators. This led to the dismissal of Baldwin's case. Both Baldwin and Guterres faced up to 18 months in prison if convicted, and the exact source of the live rounds on the set remains undetermined. That's all on Entertainment Tonight. Moving away from entertainment, let's take a look at what's trending as the hashtag #under18 takes center stage following the recent update as the Minister of Education, Tahir Maman, initially directed institutions to admit only candidates aged 18 and above, citing legal and policy requirements. However, the minister then approved the lower age limit of 16 for admissions by the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board, JAMB, and Nigerian tertiary institutions after objections from the heads of tertiary institutions during the 2024 admission policy meeting organized by JAM in Abuja, even though the previous information already sparked a lot of conversations on social media. Let's take a look at some tweets. At Real Zincs, the ban on underage admissions to Nigerian tertiary institutions delays education, strains secondary schools, increases financial burdens on families, may frustrate students, and poses enforcement challenges. At the Professor X, in a country where people write UTME 4 times before gaining admission and ends up unemployed after graduating, will be fine. At FKN Football, okay, learn skills before 18, then go to school and learn the academic side of the skill you acquired. At Carl Igwe, other countries are trying hard to make their children break records as the youngest in their fields. Nigeria is trying so hard to delay the destiny of their own children. That's all on what's trending.
And that's where we wrap things up tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at the headlines. President Tinubu has approved 70,000 naira new minimum wage for Nigerian workers. 2 feared dead as reinstated Edo Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu returns to Benin. Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says Dangote Refinery is operating illegally. We also brought you news that 15-day truce extension has been announced in the Democratic Republic of Congo's eastern region. Would like to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen, or you could follow us on all social media platforms to do so at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.